Welcome to NinjaCast, a photography podcast powered by Studio Ninja, the world's highest rated business management app, built specifically for photographers. Listen and learn as the most successful photographers on the planet share their knowledge to help you transform every element of your photography business. Here's your host, Sally Shaw.
Hi guys, welcome to NinjaCast. Today I'm joined by the lovely Claire Reynolds. Claire is a branding expert and she's going to be talking to us how you can stand out from the crowd, be brave with your branding and really attract your ideal client. Let's get started. Hi Claire, how are you?
Hi Sally, yeah, I'm great, thank you. How are you doing today?
Yeah, really well, thank you. Excited for this one actually. We've not had anyone like yourself on the podcast and kind of delving into the topics that you're going to talk about today. So I'm excited for it, definitely.
Awesome. Yeah, excited to talk about all things brand and logo design.
Excited. So Claire, for our listeners that might not know you, might not have heard of you, or equally are kind of at a point in their business where they're like, branding? Why do I need branding? Let's kind of go back, talk about your journey in the industry, what you do, and how you do it.
Yeah, of course. So, yeah, I mean, to be honest, my sort of career path is probably long enough for several series because I've done a lot of jobs. But I started off in the world of advertising. So I used to do back in the day, it was called above the line advertising. So it was all billboards and TV ads. Okay. So I was very much like ingrained in the world of selling products, everything from dishwasher tablets to Nike trainers to the latest Disney cartoon. From there, I actually retrained and I went into magazine design. So did lots of print design and lots of lovely art direction. Used to do fashion shoots and fitness shoots, which was very cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, that was a lot of fun. Then after that, I went into commercial design, and that's where I started doing lots of branding work, lots of digital and print. But I just loved doing logo design. So secretly, whilst I had my full-time 9-to-5 job, I was doing loads of logo designs for friends that were starting up businesses. Just anything that was going on, I was doing these logos on the side. And just really, really enjoying it, but didn't really put two and two together that that's probably what I should be doing full time. I also spent some time, this is what I'm talking about, it's so random. I also spent some time working in the wedding industry as a wedding planner and wedding stylist. Yeah, so lots of experience of working with lovely wedding suppliers and the challenges of getting seen, getting your perfect client and doing the job and loving it. Yeah. So that combined with branding experience has I've ended up doing lots of branding for wedding suppliers like photographers and cake makers and creatives that do wedding styling. So a weird sort of route in there, but so all of these things that I've done though has given me really good background in understanding how your branding can empower your business.
Absolutely. I think there's probably some listeners that, I'm definitely one of them, take me back kind of 5-7 years. I've tried to kind of just throw something together myself, even on maybe Word back then, but Canva or something like that. And actually, I mean, Claire, I know you've done my branding for me, and you were the first point of call for me where I thought, actually, I should probably look into this with a professional, with somebody who knows what they're doing, who, is also kind of a second set of eyes on it. They look at my business from a different perspective.
Yeah.
So from kind of that point of view, I've been kind of full circle of being the photographer that, thought I could throw myself a logo together, like it's my name and some pretty colors, like what's that? Yeah. And actually gone full circle and gone, oh no, there's so much more to it than that. So from your point of view, kind of talking to listeners that may not have invested in branding before, is it worth the investment?
So, well, of course I'm going to say definitely, but I'm going to tell you why. So this is very specific to wedding photographers and other people where the service and the product is you. It's a lot easier when you're selling a cup, because you can see the cup, you can sell the cup, you know the cup's purpose, but it's really difficult when you're trying to sell yourself. So you're like, how do I make myself appealing? How do I attract the people that I want to work with? And also you've got all the other internal voices like imposter syndrome and, you know, will people like me? Will people get me? And that's why it's really good to get somebody outside to look at you and your business and see what it is that you're offering and how to make that communicate to the right people that the clients that you want to attract. So I know it's really, and I've done it myself, when it's really tempting when you first start off a business. You feel like, you know, you're just so small and you're starting out, and obviously paying for a logo feels like an absolutely massive investment. Yeah. But it's going to be with you and your business. It's going to involve your business for such a long time. It's worth also getting it out there from the very beginning, because after all, it's like your constant cheerleader. You're not able to sell yourself when a new couple, newly engaged, are looking through the internet or Instagram or Facebook trying to find their wedding photographer. You're not going to be there going, hey, I'm the right photographer for you, book me. So your logo is doing that for you. It's your voice, and that's why it's such an important investment, because it's what's shouting out, book this person.
I think as well is even kind of going back to how I used to be about, you know, logo and branding and all that kind of thing, is that, you know, we're creatives, right? You know, we sit there and we think, well, that's easy. You know, I know what I want that to look like. I remember coming to you, Claire, and going, yeah, I think I want this, and I think I want this. And actually what you produced was totally the brief that I'd given, beyond my wildest dreams, what I thought it would look like.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you.
It's the truth though. You know, you sit and you think of, you know, I want it to be this color, I want it to have this feel, or I quite like but actually when you have a professional putting all those things together and really tweaking it and fine-tuning it, it's so much better than you could have ever imagined or ever done yourself. Like I never got my branding anywhere near what you did with it. And I think as well, also I have clients that comment on that now, and, you know, seeing right through from the point of, you know, finding me on Instagram or Facebook, found me, right through to them going to look at my website, to go and inquire to the contact form, to all the forms that they get sent through Studio Ninja with me, even right down to, you know, the little print pouches they get. It's all got that branding on it, and it creates, I think it creates more of an experience rather than just, you know, yes, it's your brand and yes, it's your logo, but that also intertwines this whole experience for your couple, doesn't it?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, so many, you know, obviously the aim is to only get married once. So these people, they're investing a lot of time and money, and, you know, this wedding is really, really big. And so they want every sort of element of that journey to feel very special, down to, you know, going and trying the cake that they could potentially have on their wedding day, or the dress, you know, choosing the wedding dress, whether you get serve champagne or not. All of that is all part of the journey. And I mean, it depends on who your client is, of course, but say, you know, if they're looking for a luxurious experience, that needs to come through in your branding and your logo design. Like you said, the cohesion across everything that you create, whether it's your social media or something printed, if it's all working together seamlessly, it just feels more put together, more professional, more reliable. And that's ultimately what most people want for their wedding day, or any sort of photo shoot experience, because, you know, it is a big investment, and they want to come away with the memories of their day captured perfectly. So
I mean, I guess that goes right through to any kind of photographer too, right? You know, if I'm booking a family shoot, or I'm booking somebody to come and shoot a birthday party, or, you know, do a commercial shoot for me, or do some food photography if I'm a restaurant owner, you want to be able to rely and think that you're booking a quality service of whatever level, don't you? So I think branding goes a lot of the way to giving that reliability.
Exactly. So there's the quality side, but also you know, getting your personality across, and that is incredibly important. Once again, going back to the whole thing about you're selling you, and making sure that you attract your ideal client. And this is a pitfall that I fell into, where I was like, I just want as many wedding planning bookings as possible this year, and sure enough, I did the wedding show at Olympia. Is that right? Yes, at Olympia. Got lots of bookings. I was very excited about that. But as the year progressed, I found that so many of the couples that I'd booked weren't my kind of people.
Yeah.
And my branding at the time, and maybe how I was projecting myself, hadn't done me any favors. So that's another way that it's really important that from the offset, going back to the original question about investment, in so many ways your branding and your logo is helping you and your business achieve what your aims and objectives are. So yes, and the biggest thing for you guys is the wedding industry is so oversaturated. There's so many people out there, and they're not all good, and you need to make sure that you stand out amongst these people. And you've got, I remember when I first started doing logos for people and wedding photographers, and so many like the old boys that have been doing weddings for a couple centuries that the venues recommend, couples were just automatically booking them. And I'd look at their portfolios and I'd look at their branding, and it was so old school. And having spoken to these people, it was like, but why are you booking this guy? Like, he's not what you want at all. So this is another way that, your branding can stand out and, speak to those people that want something, very different, and your style that you're offering.
Definitely. I think what you touched on there is really important, actually. We are in a saturated market, not just as wedding photographers, but the wedding industry in general. There's loads of us, and that's amazing that there's such a huge community. But equally, it makes it much more difficult to stand out and to be, to attract your ideal client, I guess, to make sure that your ideal client is seeing you and not kind of pushing past you to see other people.
Yeah.
What's your recommendation in terms of branding to be able to stand out?
So I think definitely get your logo sorted, and make sure your logo reflects your personality. So one of the part of the process that I offer through Be Brave Branding is that we have quite an in-depth questionnaire, and to really get into what drives you in your business. And there's some really interesting outcomes from this questionnaire, where my client previously had an idea about themselves, and though through this questioning they were just like, actually, I'm discovering more about myself and more about the people that I want to work with. So when doing your logo design, if you want to project yourself as somebody that's a creative, fun, energetic, quirky photographer, make sure your branding is screaming that. I mean, you don't need to go overly crazy with it, but just something that stands out and says that you're going to be fun to work with and you want to work with fun people. Equally, you might be a photographer who does very natural, feminine, romantic photography, so make sure that's coming through in your branding as well. And this can also work with, like we've touched on, with what you put on social media. Make sure you're projecting the kind of photography that you offer, so it all works within your branding.
Absolutely.
So I think we might have to talk about fonts and colors.
That's like a whole episode on its own, right? We will definitely touch on that in a little while.
Yeah.
For me, I think, especially it was actually a questionnaire, thinking about it, that made me really think about who my ideal client was, because I'd never really done that process before. And I just thought, well, my ideal clients, a couple getting married, that are nice people, they're not going to be difficult to work with. They're going to like me, I'm going to like them, and that's that. But actually, it goes so much deeper than that. And through my branding, I kind of realized that I wanted to push towards, the more luxury, elegant type of feel for a wedding, and that's what a couple were looking for in their photographer too. But I think before that, I was just trying to kind of please everybody, attract everybody, be everyone's cup of tea. So how can photographers avoid doing that?
So I've had some really interesting experiences where and I think it's this sort of trying to be everybody's cup of tea sits very closely with imposter syndrome. So I think, like, ultimately when you first start a business and it's you, because you're selling yourself, once again, you're selling yourself, and this is obviously very different. If I was talking to somebody that was selling a product, my advice would be quite different. But when you're selling yourself as a product and a service, you know, if people don't book you, you might take it quite personally, especially if you're starting out. You're thinking, well, nobody likes me, my work's not very good, oh, maybe I should just give up and not do this and go back to whatever I was doing before. And you don't take the risk. But the thing is, you don't want everyone to like you, do you? I mean, you want your kind of people, your tribe, the kind of people that are going to go, yes, I love what this person does, and yes, I want them on my wedding day to be there. You want that person, not just anyone. So I think stop worrying about that. I've spoken to people that have absolutely loved their logo, the whole process, and then suddenly they've gone, oh, I just need to ask Uncle Bob down the pub what he thinks. And then they've come back and gone, Uncle Bob didn't like it. And it's like, but is Uncle Bob your client? No, he's not. Why are you listening to him? Of course he's going to think it's wacky or zany or too pretty or not pretty enough or what have you, because he's not your ideal client. So stop trying to impress him and everybody else that doesn't fit into your tribe. Once again, just do what makes you happy, what you think, you know, what makes you buzz, what makes you tick, because whatever makes you happy is going to probably, most likely, going to make like-minded people buzz and happy again and go, yes, I get this person. So that is really, really important. The other thing is, I talk to people where they're they're kind of at my stage of life where they're like, oh, I'm a 40-something mother of 5, and you know, I want to be wacky and fun, but you know, I'm just not. And it's like, but you are. Like, stop worrying about, you know, being this certain type of person in your private life. If what makes you passionate is doing beach weddings, but it doesn't quite fall in line with your 40-something mum with 5 children or what have you, it doesn't matter, because when you're out there doing your thing, that's the person you are. So project that. Don't worry. You don't need to, once again, you don't need to reflect everything that you do in your personal life. Just be true to, like, what makes that your heart race, what makes you excited, what, you know, drives you, and push that out into your branding and your logo design. But yes, I have these conversations so much where I'm like, stop trying to impress the masses, and it doesn't work with everyone. And I do get people coming back to me going, you were right, I should have listened to you. But I know it's really tempting to try and do a very vanilla branding, something you just could get off of Etsy and they just change your name or something. But if it's not you, then, you know, what's the point? Once again.
Yeah, definitely. I had an experience recently, actually, in the last few weeks, that made me realize that the whole process that I've been on in branding and making my business more of a brand, because I guess that's the thing. I never thought of my business as a brand. It was just my business.
I know. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't see it as I guess I don't see it from a couple's perspective. I don't see it as they're buying into this brand and this experience, or I didn't until I had an inquiry the other day, and she didn't even ask prices or anything. And she just said, her initial message was, you know, the normal, hi Sally, hope you're okay. I'm finally getting married. We got engaged last month. I've been watching you for the last 5 years, and I've always known that you would be my photographer.
Yeah. Here we go. This is it. Yeah.
To hear that, I'm like, how would you have always known that I was going to be your photographer? Like, what have I done, or what has my business done to make you feel that way? And the more I looked into it, and the more I kind of probed about what it is that attracted her and what it is that she liked and why she ended up choosing me, a lot of it was to do with this whole experience and brand. And you know, that was obviously what she was looking for. but that kind of really solidified it for me, that I was like, you know, without my branding and without that whole overhaul, that might not have happened.
There you go, Sally. How awesome it's that. See, this is the power. But like I said, that's your logo and your branding has been your cheerleader for 5 years, keeping this lady and however many others kind of pulling them in, reeling them in until, you know, they're in a position where, you know, they can use you, which is amazing.
And it also, like, totally unbeknownst to me as well, you know, I had absolutely no idea that was that somebody thought that somebody thought, one day when I get married, that's my photographer. Yeah. And, you know, what more can you ask from?
No, totally winning. This is, I love hearing these stories because it just gives me such a buzz, because you know, it's so empowering. And, you know, that little voice in the back of your head telling you you're not good enough or whatever, you getting smaller and smaller and smaller until you can't hear it anymore. Perfect. Right. And I mean, and this is why I called my business, because I've rebranded several times. I rebranded in 2020 to be brave branding. Goodness, I can't even say it. Because I wanted to encourage people to be braver. And, you know, even if it makes you feel uncomfortable, if it feels right, do it. Because you ultimately, it's one of the best investments you can have for your business. When you look at some of the biggest companies in the world, like Nike, Fortnum & Mason, Harrods, what is consistent? It's their branding and the experience you get when you come out of Selfridges with your little yellow bag. It's just a colour and some font in black writing. But how powerful is that? So, you know, if you need to think of yourself as more than just somebody who loves doing photography. You are a brand, you are an experience, you are a business. And it's really important that you treat yourself like that and respect yourself enough that you say, right, yes, I'm going to invest in this. I'm going to make this a priority because I'm going to be bigger than just what I am right now. I'm going to be huge one day, and there's going to be somebody begging somebody to propose to them just so they can book me. But yeah,
that's the next goal. So let's talk kind of, you know, there's photographers out there, they've got their branding, they love it, they've invested in it, but they're not cohesive. It's not running right through their business. What's your advice for making sure that, you know, they have it consistently everywhere?
So the process that I do with clients is that at the end, when you get your logo files through, you also get a branding document, and on there, you know, I pop your logo on, but you also have your fonts that are used in your logo and fonts that would work alongside your logo. So I often talk about web design with my clients and suggest, you know, say a Google font that they can use on their website that's going to work really nicely with their logo, but also your color palette. So just, you know, if you're not going through somebody that's offering a branding service, try and do that for yourself. Look at colors and just decide 3 to 5 colors max, probably 3 actually. And fonts that you're going to use. So when you're on your social media, so lots of people use Canva these days to create their social media posts. If you've got a pro account, you can upload your own fonts to it, and you can select your own color palette. So do that. Make sure that those things are cohesive. So reduce the amount of colors that you're using and reduce the amount of fonts that you're using. And instantly that will make everything look tidier and more cohesive within to your branding. That's really important. And then look at anything else that you offer. Do you the documentation that you email to your clients, like yourself, you send out actual physical objects. Think about how you can present all of those very nicely. Now, that doesn't need to be really expensive. That could be just some tissue paper that's the same color as your branding. You can get stickers printed with your logos on, something as simple as that just pulls it all together. It's just the glue that glues every element of your business together. If you can do something like that, then you're going to look more professional, more together, and you know, just a stronger brand. So just have a little bit of a, I mean, it's something that I do offer, that I'll look across everything that you send out, and I can recommend where you can tweak things and change things within your budget. I mean, obviously, if you've got a bit more budget, you can have you can have your own tissue paper, branded tissue paper printed. There's so much you can do. But yeah, just think about all of those things. And I'm not great with the words, with the writing stuff on social media, but just think about your tone of voice in how, you know, if you're fun and energetic, make sure that's coming through on your posts. If you're romantic and natural, make sure that comes through on your posts. Just any way that you can sort of carry on projecting that personality of your business will just do you lots and lots of favors.
Definitely. You've mentioned already briefly, Claire, that, you know, if you're zany and out there and energetic, you know, the use of color and the, you know, all that side of things. I remember distinctly speaking to you, and I think one of our first recommendations, I'd said about, you know, colors and things, I quite liked a burgundy or a deep red or something like that. And then actually, the more I thought about it, I'm like, no, that's too out there. That's too bold. That's too much color. And I think that's quite a common kind of thing, I guess, that you would experience, that you have photographers that come to you, and like you say, they I think we're accustomed to vanilla. You know, we don't want bright orange, bright blue, bright green, bright yellow all in the same thing. But actually, if that's your, you know, what your ideal client's looking for, that could just tick all the boxes all in one hit just with your logo, couldn't it? So in terms of embracing color, using color in the right way, how can photographers look at it a little bit differently?
So I actually did like a photographer's retreat a couple of years ago, and at the time, I mean, they're all very highly successful photographers now. I think some of them were just starting out, some of them were sort of middle in their career, but they're all really successful now. But at the time, nearly all of them had just a black logo in a typeface, and I was really shocked. I was quite surprised because it just doesn't say anything at all. Doesn't mean you can't have a black and white logo, you totally can, but just the majority of people there having black and white logos surprised me. So I did, so color theory, it's probably quite in depth for this talk. There's lots and lots to talk about when it comes to colors, but we did a color theory test where I put out lots and lots of different colors, and I asked them to pick up colors that represented them and their business. And what was really intriguing was that none of them picked up black.
Yeah.
All of them picked up a very, very unique set of colours for their branding. And what's interesting is they have actually gone on, some of them have gone on to use those colours and have still got them in their branding now. But it was just really interesting to talk about, you know, colours for everyone have meaning. Like, we know that red might be feisty, but also it can mean danger. Yellow can also mean danger, but there's lots of energy and it's quite a confident colour. Like a duck egg blue, you'll see that lots of pharmaceutical and beauty brands use like that sort of duck egg Tiffany blue. All of these colours are associated with feelings, and we won't go into like semiotics and subliminal meanings like today, but you know, all of these companies have been using these techniques to pull us in as consumers, because obviously when somebody's advertising something to us, they've got a nanosecond to catch our attention, and so they will use colours very cleverly. I've noticed that where organic and natural products are really popular at the moment, loads of brands are changing their packaging to be green and earthy brown sort of colours, because that's kind of what people are looking for, because we're all becoming a bit more environmentally conscious. So this is where colours can play such an important part in your branding too. So if you want to be energetic, maybe look at some bright colours. If your logo's only appearing on screen, then you're quite lucky, because you can just do RGB, so you can have neons and colours that really pop. Unfortunately, those colours don't really print very well, but on screen they look amazing. Or once again, going back to if you're doing more natural photography, maybe you want to do a color palette that's more muted, more pastel-y, more natural. So just have a look at colors and just be quite sort of analytical, like what does this color, how does it make me feel? Because it's more than likely, however it makes you feel, will make Joe Blogs, Uncle Bob down the pub, perhaps, maybe, how they're going to feel as well. So colour is really important, but maybe don't use too many. Maybe.
So moving on from colours then, I feel like the natural progression from colour is to font.
Yeah.
I remember our conversations so vividly. I knew that I wanted, like, I think I called it a swirly font.
Yeah.
I knew I wanted something kind of quite calligraphy, can't even
yeah.
Like, and that was kind of what I'd imagined in my head, but actually, little did I know, there's about 50,000 of those, just those to choose from. And, you know, you look at one, I remember sending you a couple thinking, oh yeah, you know, definitely one of these 2 or 3, like I really like these. And actually then when you put it into, you know, the branding guide, or, you know, we started playing around with how that would look in comparison with my logo, I'm like, oh no, I don't like that. That doesn't fit.
Yeah.
And there's just so much variation, isn't there? So what are your top tips for choosing fonts wisely, and what should photographers be considering before they choose a font?
So there's lots of, like you were saying with the calligraphy, so you've got sans serif, which is like your more sort of maybe cleaner modern font. You've got serif, which is, you've got little tails on and little details, and then calligraphy is quite a huge area now, because you've got your hand drawn calligraphy and your more traditional. There is a lot out there and a lot to think about. So the 2 sites that I use for fonts are My Fonts and Creative Market. There's plenty more out there. For free fonts, you can use Google Fonts, and that's perfectly fine. And I would definitely suggest Google Fonts for websites and social media. But yeah, have a look. And once again, see what floats your boat. See what you like. Maybe note a few down. Just see the general sort of like, what, you know, do I look at calligraphy and that feels like me? Or I look at a sans serif and that feels clean and modern and that's me. I mean, that there is a lot to choose from. But I often do a selection like that. Highlight a few and then sort of run it by the client and see how they're reacting to those fonts. But it's very similar to colours. It's quite personal, like what font you think communicates you best. What I used to do when I first started out was I used to do a lot of handwritten stuff myself, which was lovely. And it makes sure, you know, you're not going to find your logo on Etsy or your font anywhere because it's completely unique. But this did cause a problem later on, because the clients would then say to me, okay, so I want to have that typeface on my website. Okay, that's going to be a problem because it's handwritten. So this is another thing to consider. When you're choosing your typeface, don't go to places like DeFont or Font Squirrel. I mean, as fun as that is, they've got lots of fun typefaces, because number one, they're for personal use. They're not for commercial use. And often when I've had a client come to me and say, I found this amazing font on DeFont, I want to use this. I've then gone and looked at what the commercial usage is, and the font's like a couple of £100. It's like, you don't need to pay that much money for your font. You have to accept, I think, that you probably will be paying around £20-30 for a font, maybe £50 max, but you shouldn't be spending a couple hundred really. So avoid those, as tempting as they are, because they're free. They're going to burn you in the butt later on. So just accept, if you're going to have a font that's completely unique, you're going to have to pay a little bit of money for it. But the good news with doing that is that you will have a font that can go on all your printed branding, but that you will also have a web version, a web-friendly version. And that is really important, because if you have this beautiful typeface that's used on your logo, you're probably going to want to use it on your social media too, right? So you need, if you go to Creative Market or My Fonts, nearly all of their fonts have a web version as well. So that's really important. So, because you don't want to fall in love with something and find out it's impossible to use or it's really expensive. But yes, the fonts can be quite daunting. But I think from really basic level, go with what you love. Mm-hmm. Go with what feels good to you, or seek some advice from somebody like me, who will hopefully be able to steer you in the right direction quite quickly.
Amazing. Now, Claire, if you could start your career all over again, is there anything you'd change, anything you'd do differently?
I think firstly, I'd have more confidence and less beating myself up. I've had a lot of that, but I think that's just as a creative, like everything that you do is so subjective. Once again, I've been a bit worried over the years about being everybody's cup of tea, like we were talking about earlier. And I think it would do you favors to learn quickly, not to let those people get into your head. Yeah. Believe in yourself, be confident, just if you love what you're doing and you're really passionate about what you are producing, it's going to come through in your work. And that is the most important thing. Ultimately, you've chosen to be a wedding photographer not just to earn money. It's a lifestyle choice. It's about loving what you do and meeting different people and going different places. It's not the easiest job. So you're doing it because you're passionate. So just believe in yourself and be confident. And that's the same with me as a designer. I've developed quite a tough skin, but I used to be quite upset when people didn't like things that I designed. But I've just learned that's whole, part of the process, okay, we've ruled out what's wrong. Let's move on to what's right. Mm-hmm. So just keep reminding yourself, if things go wrong, pick yourself up, dust yourself down, learn from it, move on. Don't give up. Don't think that you're not good enough, because you are. And I think if I told myself that more in my early 20s, I wouldn't have had such a hard time. But yeah, so I think, career-wise, just everything that I've ever done, just have more confidence and more belief in yourself, and it'll be a much nicer journey.
Lovely. And if our listeners would like to find out about you, they'd like to get in touch, they'd like to chat with you, how can they do that?
So probably the best thing is to check out my website, which is bebravebranding.com. And I offer various different packages on there, like whether I think I discussed at one point about just having a look at your overall branding and giving you some advice on where you can improve things, giving you that outside looking in approach, but also like complete logo rebrand or new logo, to doing everything for your branding. So that's bebravebranding.com. Also, you can find me on Instagram and Facebook with the same handle, bebravebranding, or you can email me at hello@bebravebranding.com. But yeah, no, I'm chatty on Instagram, and happy to chat all things branding and look at what you're doing and stuff. It just, like I said, it gives me a buzz. I love talking about it, and I love seeing businesses go from strength to strength. It's just wonderful, and especially when you start off with somebody from the very beginning and seeing them become successful and blossom is just the biggest thrill. So rewarding.
I can definitely tell that you're invested in all your clients. Or
Probably it's probably too much. But I love it. So.
Amazing. And if our listeners would like to get in touch with you, find out more about you, Claire, how can they do that?
So you need to check out bebravebranding.com. So that's my website, and on there I have lots of packages that can help you empower your business. So I think I mentioned earlier about the package where I overlook all your branding and kind of steer you in the right direction of what you can change, because it's a good idea to get somebody from the outside looking in. And then there's different packages that offer like complete rebrand, or if you're just starting out. Or there's also another package where basically you can have everything sorted from your logo to your social media to elements on your website. You can also find me on Instagram with the same handle, Be Brave Branding. or you can email me at hello@bebravebranding.com. I'm always on social and happy to chat all things branding and design and just see where you are at with your business. So yeah.
Well, thank you so much for carving out the time, coming and chatting with me today.
Thank you.
I learned tons again, so definitely our listeners will have done. And hopefully we'll be able to catch up again soon.
Perfect. Well, good luck with everything, and so proud of you with all your design, all your branding work.
Oh, thank you.
Bringing in the goods, bringing in the clients. Yeah, fantastic news.
I couldn't have done it without you, Claire. Absolutely. I will hopefully see you soon.
All right, take care.
Thanks, Claire. Bye.
Okay, guys, that's everything from me today. Thank you so much again to Claire for coming and joining us on the show to talk about all things branding. If you'd like to see the show notes or hear a little bit more, you can head to www.studioninja.co/episode 56. As always, please don't forget to rate us on the podcast platform that you're listening on. A little bit of love goes a very long way. I'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to this episode of NinjaCast, brought to you by Studio Ninja. Beautifully designed and super easy to use, Studio Ninja will help you manage your leads, clients, shoots, invoices, contracts, workflows, and so much more. To learn more or start your 30-day free trial, go to www.studioninja.co.